Directors, we're coming for you. We've got 10 top tips for you headed into summer band camp.
I want to go ahead and piggyback off the first thing that Dan was talking about the physicality and the importance of just stretching and just kind of being physically capable. Every band program has different needs as far as like what you need to do. So whether you want to do something that's super calisthenics or something that is just light, whatever you need to do, just you want to make it consistent and understand that the students need to know what that is before they get there, I think, and it also help them prepare before they get to band camp. So I think it's always beneficial to have a set of workout routines or even choreography routines that they can rehearse that would help them acclimate to the show better, because every show is going to be different. You might have a different set of choreography, different step size for a show, different kind of attitude or personality that you might need, and all that stuff needs to be kind of talked about beforehand to make sure you have some kind of rehearsal set up for that.
You know, one great version of that I've seen at a top band down in Texas was that they actually had so many members, they broke it up into different modules. So in the 10 minutes that they had for stretching and calisthenics, for 2 minutes, you know, 1/3 of the band is doing toe touches and stretching their legs, while another third of the band is jogging back and forth on the field, and another is doing, you know, marching in a block or something like that. So you can kind of rotate your stations is one way to do it, or you could have the whole band do a 2 to 5 minute routine that everybody knows in a sequence, and you can build that sequence up over the course of rehearsals. So maybe your first rehearsal in May or June, you teach them a minute of it, and then you build on that until you have a 10-minute routine. So you can kind of do it all together or in groups.
Yeah, that's great. I think one of the last things to talk about of that is make sure everybody's staying hydrated, because a lot of times people don't think about being hydrated until it's too late, and at that point you're sitting out. You can't fix it immediately with water. So always watering up the day before, a couple of days before. Stay away from sugary drinks, because all that stuff is just going to make it worse. So you don't want to drink a Mountain Dew before you come into rehearsal just because you think it gives you that nice pop before rehearsal. The crash is going to be 10 times worse. So just don't necessarily get yourself into that situation. The next thing I think is super important, which is organizing your music materials and learn how to practice time management. As every student knows and band director knows, that when you're going into band camp, you've got drill charts, you got music, you got any kind of band policy documents that you have. You've got all these things that sometimes you find on the band room floor. So you want to help them be able to organize everything in certain folders and plastic sheets. I know I've been with band programs where the band just bought them for the students, and they already had everything there with the student's name on them. So I think organization is key with that type of stuff. Plus it lets the students know, hey, you know what, this is given to me and this is organized, and I now know what I need to practice. It's got my schedule in here. It's basically their own personal Bible for band, right? And you want to make sure you have that set up for them. Whatever your version is, I think it's good to have that organized, and don't rely on the students to come into rehearsal with everything, because 9 times out of 10 they're kids, right? They don't know what they don't know, or they don't know what they need. So you want to make sure you're able to kind of provide that to them. And most importantly, as they're learning how to manage their time, band is the perfect place for that. It's one of those things that when a kid graduates high school, they may put down their instrument at some point, but one of the things they need to take away with them 10 years later is, I learned how to manage my time, because band was so overwhelming. I had all these different things I had to do. I had to manage my other classes. Like, all those things play into life skills that you'll need later on. So it's important to learn that as you're going through.
And who knows who you've got coming in the door as far as their personal habits. Sure, you might have some kids, you know, who just the way they were raised, they have really good personal habits with time management and keeping all their things organized, but you're going to have the other end of the spectrum too. So establishing that culture and being a good adult in their lives. And in the summer band, they don't have classes to worry about.
Yeah.
So you can set your expectations right out of the gate.
Yep, as much as possible. The next one, number 3, is learn the music ahead of time. That kind of goes with something Dan was talking about earlier with the students, making sure that they come in prepared with things. But even further than the day of, you want to make sure that you're able to participate and play the music. If you're out there trying to add another skill set like marching or choreography or anything that's physical on top of that, and you're already struggling with music still, you want to make sure you can take care of at least the thing that may come easy to you, so that when you start adding all these other elements, that you're not stacking on things on top of stuff that you already can't do, right? So you want to make sure you're able to kind of get through the music ahead of time and ask questions and just make sure that the students are really comfortable with what they're doing. Number 4 is invest in proper attire, footwear, and hearing protection. Of course, if you come in with bad shoes, you got wearing flip-flops, you're wearing loafers. I know everybody likes to wear the easy things, slip-ons nowadays. You can't do that because you're going to be prone to injuries. You got blisters. I mean, you name it. You see the student walk in the first day with it, you roll your eyes, okay, I should have told them a week ago they needed different shoes. And they probably got them, they just didn't want to wear it that day because I thought they were going to sit down and play their instrument all day, right? Mm-hmm. So, in some days maybe that's okay. Maybe you have a schedule that's set out that, like, hey, on Tuesday and Thursday we're not going outside, and they know they can wear their flip-flops or shoes or non-tennis shoes, whatever. But the big one is hearing protection. And we can make a whole podcast based off of just hearing protection. But there's plenty of brands out there that will, do what you need them to do, and they're super inexpensive. And I would suggest everybody in the band wear them. But the thing is, if you wear them, you have to make them consistent, because you don't want to put them in just for rehearsals and not for contests, or only some rehearsals or only contests. The whole goal is you want to make sure that your listening environment is super consistent, so that while you're trying to learn how to play and line things up with everybody, and you understand what's going on. Because the big deal is when you get into a dome situation where sound lingers more in awkward places. With the earplugs, it's the same as it ever was if you're outside or whatever. So it helps keep your environment consistent no matter where you're performing. Yeah. And that's a big thing for us, because, I mean, that's something that really just started to come on really in the past 10 years or more, as far as like being more consistent and being more proper, I guess, with what band programs are wanting to do. Keeping things consistent, I think, is key. As far as attire goes, you don't want to come in with jorts or jeans or anything like that that's going to cause you to chafe or not allow you to be as maneuverable as you need to be in rehearsal. We've all experienced, the kids that come in thinking they're going to like a day camp or whatever, and then realize, like, wait a minute, I got a marching crab and this is an awkward feeling, and now I'm chafing in weird places. And you just don't want that. Just make sure they understand the type of shorts they would need to wear. Right.
And you don't want to let kids be the cool kid with the flip-flops who then is pushing their I'm just in the pit, but then they push their vibraphone over a fire ant mountain, and then they, you know what I mean?
Or the wheel rolls over their toe and pulls their toenail off, and you're like, right, now I don't have you for a week because whatever reason. So definitely want to protect your feet on that end. Sun protection. That's something that many of us at our age now is looking back at all the time we spent in drum corps and being like, I probably could have put a little bit more on my ears and my nose or wherever. And you don't really think about that in the moment until later on when you start, pointing at spots on your body and going, yep, that probably needs to come off. And I think talking about that with younger students now, I think, is super important. Nutrition for performance, and always getting a good night's sleep. So, in other words, we've all had the kids that come in and they, after their calisthenics, they work out and they get sick and they go off to the side of the field and upchuck a little bit. You're like, oh, what'd you have for breakfast? A bunch of milk. Like, okay, well, let's talk about what they need to eat. Just make sure they understand that you can't do certain things and then go out and run around in hot weather. Right. Milk being one of them.
And high school kids are notorious for just being junk food dumpsters. Like, they just want to eat bad food, and a lot of it. And I was no different, but for band camp, you're going to have trouble getting through 2 weeks of hot on the macadam without...
Yeah, just try to eat as clean as possible and eat as much as you can that provides the nutrients and the power and the juice that you need. I mean, it's huge. And then, of course, everybody needs a good night's sleep. We all know we all go to band camp. We want to hang out with our buddies. And next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just spent 12 hours out in the hot sun, and now I got to get up in 3 hours to do it all again. That's not good. You're not helping out anybody or yourself or anything like that. So just make sure you are getting the good night's sleep, because that's how your body recovers. That's what you need. Number 7 is set personal goals. I think too often students show up to things and allow the staff to set their goals for them, which can be frustrating because you may not necessarily know how to get there or what the end game really is. But if you understand the bigger picture, yeah, I got to get better, but you set your personal goals that allow you to stair step, and because only you know your capabilities, right? The staff knows where you need to be and can kind of see where you can go with it, but ultimately you have to be able to set personal goals so that you can have your own personal check mark, your goal sets. So what's great, and I think there's a great way to think about it. It's called SMART. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And if you can think about those things as far as like what you're setting your goals to, and you want to think about those 5 things, you'll be in a good place.
Right. And I think as a director, you're going to have kids coming in who have never set goals for themselves before. You could be the first adult in their life to really offer that challenge to them that way and invite them to make their own goals and talk about what makes a good goal, you know, like that last one, you know, being time bound. It's not just like, one day I'm going to be president, you know, but like, no, by the end of these 2 weeks of band camp, I'm going to have my 8 to 5 step size down. I'm going to stop getting comments about the opener 10 sets, you know, whatever that is.
Yeah, and everybody's goals can be different based off of where your weakness is. You know, a senior is not going to have the same goals as a freshman.
Right.
It's not going to be. So just make sure you understand what that is, and don't try to have the same goals as a senior, because you're going to set yourself up for failure, right? So, and if you have concerns on what that is, you can talk to a director, and they could probably help you kind of get there so that you understand where you got to go, and you're not trying to achieve something that's so lofty that you get discouraged by the end. That's a big one. Don't set a goal you can't achieve, but also don't underestimate yourself and set a goal so low that you hit it tomorrow.
Sure.
You know, you want to make sure you have a little bit of a long game set into that.
Right.
So, number 8 is pack the essentials. So what is that? That could be different for everybody. It could be your music, it could be your water jug, it could be an extra pair of socks because maybe you sweat a lot and it causes blisters, an extra pair of shoes. I know when I'm on my feet all day, whether we're at a convention or whatever, like I bring a couple pairs of shoes and try to change them out either at lunch or dinner or whatever, because it helps kind of reset how you stand, your balance, pressure in your feet, that kind of thing. So and it makes your feet not ache as much by the end. So that's one thing you might want to bring. You might want to bring an extra mouthpiece. You might want to bring some extra sunblock for your buddy. Maybe you're tired of your friends always actually asking you for your own sunblock. So you say, hey, I've got the communal sunblock. Maybe you're a section leader and you bring a few things for your section or whatever. So like everybody's going to have their own essentials that you need to pack. It might be chapstick. It might be whatever. Make your own personal checklist and make sure you come in with it every day, because you don't want to be that person that's borrowing stuff from somebody else. Hey, can I borrow your sunblock? Can you have an extra set of earplugs? Whatever it is, just trying to be that person.
Be over prepared. And if you can do that during band camp, you're probably not going to be the one who forgets your show socks on the way to the show. You're not going to be the one who leaves your mouthpiece out of your case. Or whatever it is, right? So start that in band camp. Directors, establish that culture.
Number 9, I think, is a super important one, which is teach your students how to receive feedback. Because a lot of times there's a way to deliver things to where it doesn't feel as personal. I know I've been guilty about it in the past by just being overly passionate about something that can be delivered as feeling personal, but it's not. It's more. It comes from a sense of caring and a sense of urgency, you know, that we have to get to where we're at. And I think being able to balance those things and understand that the student needs to have it delivered a certain way so they can accept the feedback, I think. So those are some things that I've learned in the past, you know. And but as a student, you have to be malleable to that and understand this is an activity that people are shaping you with no skills to all the skills. And it takes time, but you have to be taught to be able to do that. You know, too often students come in and they just want to be able to learn by rote, and that only takes you so far. You know, you got to be able to be manageable and be able to learn all the right music and to be able to be teachable with everything that you're doing. And everything's not a personal attack. You know, I think that's the biggest thing that students got to realize is there's some teaching scenarios out there where there's you talk to the whole group about a comment, but you might be talking about a specific individual, but you may never tell that individual. You just talk to the whole group, and you hope that individual is mature enough to hear the comment and self-realize what it is. But 9 times out of 10, that is not the case. You have to go, Johnny, Susie, this is the problem. this needs to be fixed. And sometimes that can come across as pointed, and it should never feel like that. But I know you have to point out the problem in order to get fixed, because not everybody is that self-aware to accept a general comment and then fix it on their own. They're just not.
Right.
So I think it's finding the happy medium of how does a group get better than how does the individual get better.
And I think one thing that helps soften that blow is show them what good is. You know, once a standard has been set and we're all looking at what good is together, then if I say, hey, your horns up is too slow, hey, your horns up is too slow, well, if they've never seen what fast enough is, then they're not going to know what you're talking about. But if you have a good senior who is doing it correct every time, whatever the skill set is, marching, the way you handle your horn or your drum, you know, I know specifically for young drumline members, hey, you're not controlling your drums enough. Bass drums, I see those Pearl logos bouncing all over the field, you know, but if they don't know what smooth looks like, then it's going to be, they might get frustrated and feel like it's personal. But if you can say, stop, hey, bass one, our senior bass one, everybody just watch him do it, you know, and then like see how great that looks, see how it's like smoothly passed, he's not spilling Tom Monk's coffee, right? Then if you can point to what good is, I think that helps make it less personal as well. But culturally speaking, from a director's standpoint, build all that into your program, that it's okay to get comments. It's okay to get taught. Everyone's here for the same.
That's how we get better.
We're all going the same place.
But some of the things I like to think about with that is making sure that every student understands the end goals, right? That we talked about. So you want to set them like, hey, the group has goals, but you as an individual may have a separate goal that may not be as high and lofty as the rest of the group, and that's totally fine, you know. But the most important thing is that everybody gets to their goal at the same time, you know, with that. Now, the last thing is socialize and have fun. I mean, that's one of the things you talked about last, about what, you know, our friend Skojo likes to talk about. And that's exactly it. You know, you want to socialize and have fun. That is the big thing about band that I think a lot of students don't necessarily take as seriously, because, you know, they get in there, want to be hardcore, they want to learn the band stuff. But in the end, very small percentage of students keep their sticks, keep their horns, keep their flags, all that stuff later in life. But what they're going to remember is all the friends they made, all the lessons they learned. Like, all that stuff sticks with them more so than not. But so if you're somebody who only sticks themselves in a practice room and focuses on that, and you never get out and socialize with everybody, you're missing out what band's about. You just are. Now, is all that stuff important? Absolutely. You have to get in there and, you know, get in the weeds and practice and make yourself good. But ultimately, you're there for compadres. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's doing it for each other, and you got to make sure you're doing it for the right stuff. And I think that's part of it. So it's the definition of a band, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's got to be. But yeah, that's my top 10 guys. I know there's several versions of top 10s out there, but I know those are some things that either I've learned in the past, or I think could be communicated to band directors that are especially just starting out, about some of the woes that you might experience as you're kind of getting into the field of it. And yeah, hopefully this stuff has been helpful for you.
We hope you enjoyed this top 10 tips for students and directors heading into band camp. Here at Synced Up, we're not just trying to sell you things. This is a community we're trying to build. We're trying to support the whole pageantry arts. So if there's any way we can help your program with information, conversation, or of course with products and services, please reach out to us. We'd love to be a part of your journey in marching band this fall.